We are storytellers by nature, sharing with others what we experience, perceive, and believe of life, our joys, adventures, our losses. We tell ourselves stories as well. Some leave us trapped by false beliefs and self-doubt. But there are also stories of persisting, exploring, and rising above. Stories of uncovering the truth, enabling powerful transformation and triumph. These are those stories. These are your stories. Hello, folks. Excuse me. Gonna be one of those days. I can feel it. Welcome. This is, and so it is, stories of truth, transformation, and triumph. My name is Zoe DeMuro, and I am blessed to have been a religious science practitioner with the New Thought Media Network and a transformational coach. My ministry and my mission in a number of different forms over the years, 3 decades worth, as a matter of fact, have been to help people co-create a most authentic and fulfilling life experience. This show has been a part of that ministry and mission. You know, I created it specifically because I wanted to highlight the varied ways in which people have found themselves to be limited because of, because of false beliefs. Some were their own beliefs, others they inherited, if you will. And in some cases, they simply accepted them as their own for any number of reasons. The one thing they all certainly have in common, though, is that their false beliefs had a profound effect on their life. You know, Einstein made this brilliant observation about beliefs and the pursuit of truth. Let me bring this up. Okay. He said, blind belief in authority is the greatest enemy of truth. Blind belief in authority is the greatest enemy of truth. I love that. That is, it feels like it's a quote for the ages, doesn't it? As in, like, right now. Consider this quote from Einstein as well. Hang on, let me get to this one. Einstein said, the important thing is not to stop questioning and never lose a holy curiosity. It is in that curiosity that people were able to work through the false beliefs. They were able to question them. They were able to transform their lives in a way that was, for them at the very least, a triumph, a path to freedom of expression, freedom of being, freedom of spirit. And if I might add, each of their lives became more fulfilling, more open, more genuine and authentic. And as that happened, the lives of those they encountered benefited as well. So I want to dedicate this episode to all those people who have found the courage to choose to work through their circumstances or conditions, their setbacks and tragedies, their pain and suffering. Another quote. I'm going to be quote heavy today, I guess. This is from Heather Ash Amaro, and I think she says it quite well here. She said, change is inevitable, but transformation is a choice. Absolutely. But I'm speaking about people who were able to affect these changes in their lives. And I'm certainly dedicating this to them. But I also want this show to provide hope for those who have not yet been able to affect the changes in their lives that they themselves recognize that they want to experience. I also want to include those people who want to find that release, right? That knowing that there is something there, that knowing that something isn't right, knowing that there is more, okay, but not quite feeling ready to tackle that. Right. I want you to know that you are on the right track. Just don't give up. In fact, if you need a little more confidence, if you're thinking that, oh, I'm facing something that, oh, couldn't possibly deal with this, couldn't possibly use the ideas that the people on this show have used. Well, let me tell you, folks, I have personally experienced and worked through, or am still working through in some cases, a long list. As a matter of fact, okay, this is maybe a little bit silly, but I actually did create a list. I put it in alphabetical order too. These are things that I have dealt with or am dealing with in my life. Abuse, number of types and a number of times and a number of perpetrators, alcoholism, addiction, attempted suicide on more than one occasion, betrayals on more than one occasion, cancer, more than one occasion, death of loved ones, divorces, estrangement from loved ones, financial ruin, homelessness, unemployment. All of those have been part of my life. All of them. But I'm still here. I'm still questioning. I'm still exploring, still growing, still learning, still focusing on who and whose I truly am. So all of that's my dedication for this episode. No matter your circumstance, no matter your age, no matter what is going on, I promise you that transformation and triumph can be yours. Hey, Wayne. Good to see you. Okay, so now that I've dedicated this episode to pretty much everyone in the entire world, let's get going. You know, I've always prepared for each of these episodes so that I could bring this an interview to you in a way that really allowed me to just kind of have a conversation with my guest. And yes, I did follow a particular story arc, if you will. But what you saw, what you heard was authentic, deeply personal, and profoundly powerful. I found that preparing for this episode, though, things are a bit different. As you've probably surmised from the title of the episode, The Last Waltz, today will be the final episode of this show. It has truly been a great run. But it's time for me to move on. And it's not only the last episode of this show, because I'm retiring. I'm not just retiring the show, but I'm retiring me. Yes, I am actually going to retire. I have decided to step down from my official ministry as a licensed religious science practitioner, spiritual counselor, and retire. I could say it wasn't an easy decision, but I'd also have to say that it was an easy decision. I know that's ridiculously contradictory. But I'll tell you, I've one of the things I most certainly have learned in life is that two very different things can be true at the exact same time. Think about it. We can be joyful and we can mourn. We can be tired and we can be inspired. We can be afraid and we can be brave. Throughout my life, I have been learning more and more about who and whose I truly am. And as important as being is, doing has its time to shine as well. So, what I'm doing is moving into the next stage of my life because I have reached yet another transformation point in my life. And that's another thing that I very clearly learned as I went through these various episodes with people and these interviews. We go through many transformations in our life, or at least we have many opportunities for transformation. Right, so I wanted to take this episode as a way to wrap up this show because it most certainly has been an important part of my ministry, and I just felt it warranted its own send-off. And I also want to honor and celebrate my time with the New Thought Media Network and with you folks. So, let's see where this takes us. Now, I went back over my archives and I looked at all the show's episodes. And one of the interesting things that occurred to me was that a lot of the shows have been about opposites. About, on the one hand, false beliefs, on the other hand, truths. About limitation and expansion. About fear and courage. About accepting and rejecting. Learning and unlearning. Holding on and releasing. Opposites, right? But also when I think of as being synergistic contributors to transformation. I often thought how wonderful it would be to have simply lived a life of clarity, ease, and grace. It sounds like it would be wonderful, doesn't it? But let's face it, how many of us do have that life experience? In all honesty, I have wondered over the years of people who have had to struggle and had to work their way through adversity. Wondered, did they ultimately achieve more? Or did they appreciate more what they had than their idyllic peers? I don't know. Regardless, though, I am quite certain that it depends on how we choose to experience our life rather than how the conditions or circumstances of our life change our presumed trajectory. When I named this show, there's a phrase, of course, that we use at the end of affirmative prayers often. We'll say, and so it is. My name being Zoe, I've heard a number of people after I finished praying saying, oh, and so it is. That's not why I named it that. It's actually, and so, comma, it is, exclamation point. Meaning, there were so many times in my own life when I didn't think that something was possible. So many times in my own life that I didn't think that I could achieve what I wanted. So many times in my own life that I didn't think that what I really felt within was actually possible. And each time I realized, so it is. the second part of the name, of course, the idea of being able to move from limiting beliefs to transformation and on to triumph. That's really the key here. So I looked through and I said, all right, what else have I learned over these 2 years? What else really stands out to me? So I found another very surprising aspect of the show. And I saw that when I looked at the effects of how we define or understand aspects of our life, it makes a profound difference for us. For example, we often speak of facts, the circumstances and conditions which clearly did occur, or clearly, we can see them right in front of us. And we often use facts as a way to validate, a way to support, a way to justify any number of things, our choices, our actions, our reactions, the words that we speak, the perspectives that we take, the biases that we form. But the stories people have shared with us on this show have shown that facts can really be inconsequential, ultimately, when you look at a person's life experience. I've probably mentioned this a number of times, but in the world of running, for example, racing, road racing, that is to say, on foot, for many, many, many years, it was an absolute fact that you could not run a 4-minute mile. Just a fact, all right? We saw that year after year after year, and then somebody did it. Well, suddenly that's not a fact anymore. The truth is that we have no idea what we are truly capable of. So I looked at that fact concept, and I thought about New Thought. And in New Thought circles, there's this phrase, and it's stated in a variety of ways, but essentially it says, principle is greater than precedent. And I see that idea absolutely resonates with the idea that truth is more powerful, more important, more impactful in our lives than fact is. As I said, over the years, even over the many centuries, so many things that we saw as quote unquote fact have been disproven or rendered completely inconsequential. But truth persists. Not my truth, right? Not your truth, all right? But truth with a capital T, because there's only one truth. We come to it differently. We give it different names. But that one truth guides us. It sustains us. It empowers us. And ultimately, it can free us. It's funny. It's so common for us to see answers as the end all and be all. If I can only find the right answers, everything will work out in my life. What I've seen in all the journeys that people have shared on this show, and of course in my own life and in many other settings, it's not that finding the answer made the difference. It's that finding the right question or the right questions. That is the catalyst for change and transformation. For some reason, I'm kind of fixated on Einstein today. So I wanted to share something that Einstein said about questions. Let me bring this up. Okay. He said, if I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on the solution, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. For once I knew the proper question, I could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes. The proper question. I like that. The more we question, the more we discover, explore, discern, the closer we come to finding truth. Something that didn't so much surprise me, but stood out as being truly important is how much I learned about people I thought I knew, either because I knew their public persona or because we've known each other for quite a while, and to hear and see what they'd been through in their lives. That was truly eye-opening. And many of these people were not strangers to me. Right? I mean, think about all the folks around you who are total strangers to you. The ones that just drive you up a tree and bring out that judgmental side of you. Okay, wait a minute. I don't want to violate my own way of looking at this. I'm going to talk about me. All right. My judgmental side, the people that drive me nuts. I don't know what's going on in their lives or what has gone on in their lives. I don't know what motivates them to do or say what they do. Who knows how much or how little support they had or have in their lives? Who knows where they are in their journey? It's really a call to compassion. I found that compassion seems to operate for me a lot like gratitude. The more I express it, the more I allow it to inform my thoughts, my actions, and my reactions, the better the result. Being able to recognize what is good in your life is not just the idea that, well, we're not going to ever look at the things that are troublesome. We're not going to look at the things that are problematic. But it's important to recognize that we have resources. And it's important to recognize that there's so much that we do have that we can probably use those resources, use that energy, use that time, whatever it might be, to help us get through something. The more grateful we are, the more likely we are to see abundance in the world. And with compassion, it is so much the same. When I look at the world from a lens of compassion, suddenly the idea of holding a grudge, suddenly the idea of making someone wrong, if you will, just falls away. So as I looked at these various stories over the years, and I listened to how people navigated the times in their lives that were so difficult, the idea of compassion came through. When people were able to be compassionate with themselves, they found an energy, a strength that they didn't know they had. When they were able to feel that compassion for themselves, it extended outward as well. And believe me, if you have been a victim of abuse, let me rephrase that, if you have been victimized through abuse, having compassion for that abuser does not mean that you make it all right, that it doesn't matter. It means that you recognize that this is a fellow human being going through a horrible time in their lives. Being able to look beyond the surface, being able to understand that there is so much more going on, enables us to have a more open, a more loving approach to life. It gives us a strength. It gives us an ability to be open rather than to close off, because the more that we close ourselves off, the more that we restrict and constrict ourselves, the less powerful we are. So I see how important compassion is. I see how my ability to be compassionate enabled me to overcome a tremendous amount of self-guilt, of believing that I somehow brought things on. No. I recognize that there were circumstances and there were times that there was nothing I could do about that at that moment. But I have the ability now to extend to myself the courtesy, if you will, of compassion. Even when I look at things that I have done in my life that have brought me tremendous amounts of pain, I know that for some reason, while I might have brought that on myself, there was a message in there for me. So I look to all of these different things in my life. I look at this, as I looked at all of these different stories, you could see so many places where people were injured by others, that things were inflicted upon them. And they had to work to not inflict more suffering on themselves. They had to work to not build up these walls all around themselves, which not only, quote unquote, protected them, but it shut them out from the world. Compassion is not weakness. Compassion is not giving in or giving up. Compassion is a strength. It's being able to truly feel deeply, and to do so with another as well as with oneself. So these lessons came to me very clearly as I worked through this show. And it inspired me. And it brought a fire to me. And I am so thankful for all of the people that were willing to come on this show, willing to open themselves to the scrutiny of others. And some people would say that they were not afraid to be vulnerable. I'm going to challenge that. And I'm going to say that they knew that they were in a safe space. What they were doing wasn't being vulnerable, they were being open. It's a big difference. Vulnerability implies that there is a possibility to be hurt. Openness is a more positive way of looking at it. Are there times when we are vulnerable? Absolutely, no question. But being able to find a time, a place, a person or persons, a community where you can be open, that's a lot more powerful than being vulnerable. My opinion. In any event, I do want to thank people who were my guests on the show. I'm going to truly extend my heartfelt thanks to them. I'm going to use just their first names. I'm not going to use any titles, any honorifics. And I made a list and I put it in alphabetic order because one person's transformation is not necessarily greater than anyone else's. So hang on, here we go. Many, many thanks and many blessings to Barbara, to Bonnie, Buck, David, Gary, Kim, Juniper, Lara, Lori, Michael, another Michael, Michelle, Peggy, Robert, Sabrina, and Tyrone. Hey, do I get to thank me too? Sure. Why not? Oh, yeah. And Zoe. I couldn't resist. What can I tell you? I should also note that several of those folks contributed to multiple episodes, as well as providing support and encouragement when I needed it the most. I mean, without a doubt, my daughter Juniper has been my sounding board for all of this. And I greatly, greatly appreciate that. It meant the world to me, just as she means the world to me. So I do thank you. Thank you all. And I do absolutely celebrate you. And, you know, since this is my last official act here on the New Thought Media Network, I want to once again express my deepest thanks to Reverend Dr. Robert Brzezinski, the founder and chief architect of the New Thought Media Network, who created this awesome enterprise. You know, he started it at the beginning of the pandemic, just with 2 prayers a day. And he grew that to over 40 hours of programming every week. And we continue to shift and grow and change, and people come and people go, shows come and go. And it has always been about being able to take the word of New Thought, the joy of New Thought, the principles, and to bring them out into the world, to make them accessible to a world that needs them so very, very much. So, Reverend Dr. Robert, much love and many, many blessings. Thank you so much for all that you do. And yes, while I might be leaving the network, doesn't mean that I am not going to be watching and listening and praying with you and enjoying all of the content that you bring. Thank you. I also want to give many thanks to my prayer partner and beloved sister from another mister, Gonzalez, otherwise known as your doula for grief. Bonnie introduced me to the network, and she was the one who said, you really should do a show. I was like, oh, please, what am I going to do? I mean, who's going to listen to me? Why would anybody want to listen to me? And she said, why wouldn't they? She said, think about it. Think about it. And I did. And I came up with a couple of different shows. And it really opened my eyes and opened my world. So, Bonnie, much love and many, many blessings. And to all the prayer team members that I have known over the years. I could go on for days thanking people. So if I didn't happen to mention you by name, please forgive me. It wasn't that I didn't value your contribution. It's just so many different people that I could be thanking for so many different things. And I also want to say that I have no intention of leaving my spiritual life behind me because I'm retiring. No, my spiritual life is my only life. That is to say, I am clear in my mind that I have both my human side and my divine side. I am clear in my mind that who and whose I am will always be. That the connection that I have to God and with and in God, or Allah, Gaia, the universe, whatever term you're going to use, that's always going to be there. And I'm always going to endeavor to hold true to what I have learned about loving spirit, about God, and therefore what I have learned about myself, and what I have learned about each and every one of you. So I will continue to do what I can to express what I have learned about living a full and fulfilling life. I've done it in a variety of ways before. I'm going to continue to do so in different forms. All right. As a matter of fact, I have a book that's going to be hitting the virtual shelves of Amazon and Barnes & Noble sometime very soon. I was really hoping to be able to say it's there already. But I've been waiting for my publisher to tell me when we're good to go. So I will suggest that you keep your eyes open for this book. All right. From Vision to Reality. This is like one of the world's worst titles. From Vision to Reality, transforming your life experience by achieving SMART goals and beyond. So I'm going to be publishing this as an ebook on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. As I said, it should have been up already, but I know that it isn't yet. But keep your eyes out for that. Of course, I'll certainly talk about it on my social. And thus ends the self-serving announcement of the day. Okay. I do want to close today out with something that is significantly more profound than my pushing my book. One of the guests on my show was a magnificent, exceptional songwriter, musician, and singer, Gary Lynn Floyd. brilliant man out of Texas. Love him. If you've been around New Thought, you've probably heard any number of his songs. The song that really spoke to me, I wanted to just give you a few pieces of it. I probably could have asked Gary to let me use the whole song and the music, but I decided, we'll keep life simple. So this is from a song called Unbound. And no, I'm not going to sing it. He wrote, "Tell me your story. Tell it to me. Don't leave out a word. I think I've been there too. I'm a seeker, just like you. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound, unbound." Go deeper still until you come unwound, unbound. That just speaks so beautifully and so strongly to me. Well, folks, there's so much more I could say. I could go on for days, but this feels complete. This feels like I have been able to get across what is most important. I've been able to express my connection, express my gratitude, express my love, and express myself in a way that I never thought was possible. So, always, always keep clear in your mind, keep clear in your heart and in your thoughts that you are loved. And without a doubt, you are love. Never forget. And so, for one last time, I'm signing off. And please, please, be good to yourselves. Allow love and compassion to be what informs all that you do, because love and compassion is who you are. Namaste.